Today, and because we have Easter coming up, I'm making my version of deviled eggs, the perfect appetizer to take along to the family party. I like to use free-range organic eggs. It gives that beautiful color. You know, when you cut into them, you have that beautiful yellow yolk inside. And I'll put my eggs in a pan, and I'm going to cover with hot water, and only just cover them. Bring that to the boil, let it boil for 10 minutes, and then you need to put them under the cold water tap. Let the cold water run, and they need to run for a good 5 minutes or so, because you've really got to stop the cooking the inside of the eggs. If you don't, what happens is you get that sulfur ring, you know, that nasty ring around the edge of the yolk. Well, we don't want that. We want these to look really pretty. The sulfur ring's still edible. You can still eat the eggs like that, but it just doesn't look good. Once the eggs are cold, then we've got to peel them. And the way I do it is to tap them and then just run them a couple of times over the board, and that helps to peel them. And keep dipping them back into the water. Once I've got all my eggs peeled, then I'm going to take a can of beets. I'm not using the vinegar ones. I'm just using the whole beets, which are just in natural water. And I'm going to pour that liquid all over the eggs. And the beets I'll just save for a salad later on. Give it a swish around, and already you can see they're taking on a gorgeous color on the outside. I'm going to let that soak every now and again, give them a swish around. But I'm going to let it soak for about an hour, up to 2 hours. After a couple of hours, the beets look gorgeous. Look at that beautiful color on them. And if you don't want to use the beet juice, you can use the food color. No, you can't. Nobody uses those anymore. They're nasty. They're carcinogens. Use beets, it's natural. So onto a paper towel, and then make sure they're nice and dry. Just swish them around. Just make sure they're nice and dry. And now I'm going to carefully cut them in half. Open them up. Look at that color. Look at that beautiful color around the sides of the eggs. And the gorgeous yellow inside. Next, with the help of a teaspoon, I'm going to take out the yolks. Give them a little squeeze, because look, they almost pop out on their own. And I want to save all the yolks into this bowl. You can make these the day ahead if you want to, and they'll keep. In fact, they'll keep for several days in the refrigerator. In France, the eggs are called mimosa, earth mimosa, and it always sounds better in French, doesn't it? Mimosa, after the mimosa flower, and the beautiful yellow of the yolks. In England, they call them stuffed eggs. Once I have them separated, I'm going to take all the yolks, and I'm actually going to push them through a sieve, and I get a really, really fine egg yolk in there then. If you don't want to mess with this stage, you just put them in a bowl, and you can just chop them with a fork. But I love to do them this way. It takes a few extra minutes, but it is worth it. And you just take your time, putting one in at a time, and just press them onto the sieve. And look, you get this beautiful mimosa. There's many different versions of deviled eggs, stuffed eggs, and the deviled eggs actually comes from the 1800s, where anything spicy that was served was called deviled. And the classic version is to put mustard into these, a little mayonnaise, and then sprinkle with paprika. And then the southern version, you actually use sweet pickle. And then there's a Midwest America version too that they call angel eggs, and that one has mustard, vinegar, sugar, mayonnaise. I've not tried that one. But we used to make them at the palace as little appetizers, and we would actually put curry in them with a little mango chutney, and they're good. How pretty is that? Once I have the egg yolks, then I can start making my mix. And as I said, there are so many different variations, but I like to take some mayonnaise. And the recipe is in the description, so you can make these at home. Then I'm going to take a little sour cream, some black pepper. I like black pepper. I like to see the little flakes in there. And some salt. And some English mustard. And I'll put a link to that in the description if you don't know where to get it. Most good stores have it nowadays. But the English mustard actually has a little kick to it. And then finally, a little truffle oil. Just a little there. Now we just mix all of this together. Now I know I'm going to get slammed for this in the description. Oh look, he's making a recipe using eggs and we can't afford eggs. We've got to remortgage the house or we've got to sell one of the children just to be able to buy a dozen eggs. But no, egg prices are coming down. And I did the math on these, and even if you don't use the free range, these individual ones work out like 10 cents each. So it's worth doing. And trust me, Easter Sunday, everyone is going to love it. There's the mix when it all comes together. Not too runny. And if you want to, you can spoon this now into your eggs, or you can use a piping bag. Now, here in the Eating Royally kitchen, we have the proper piping bags, but I know not everyone does at home. So I want to show you what we sometimes use, and that's a Ziploc bag. And take off that top piece. And then over in one corner, not the open piece, make a little cut. Now you can open this up. Look at that. And if you have a star tip, you can drop that in there. If you don't, then that's fine. You can still put the mix in and then pipe it in. But just make sure it will go in there. Then open the bag and just spoon the mixture into the bag. And then squeeze it down. And we can pipe into the eggs. And hopefully we have enough to do all of them. Look at that, perfect. They already look really pretty, and you can serve them just like that. Or if you want to, a little sprinkle of paprika on the top, you know, the more classic traditional way. But for me, I want some texture, and I've taken some prosciutto and I've fried it in a little oil until it's crisp. And so you get this gorgeous, it's almost like crispy bacon, but it's a beautiful texture. So I can snap off pieces and just sit them on top of the eggs. And when you bite into them, you have the gooey, soft, delicious egg in the center. And then on the top, some crispy prosciutto. And with a little bit of truffle oil in there. I mean, these are really special. Just the perfect appetizer to take to your family and friends on Easter Sunday. Don't they look beautiful? And they taste amazing too. And if you don't celebrate Easter, they're good any time of the year. Perfect appetizers. Hope you like the recipe. Tell me your recipe below, how you make them different. Recipe is in the description below. I want you to share your favorites. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share the recipe with your friends. Let's make sure everyone has an incredible Easter. Or just for family and friends coming over. These are perfect. See you again soon.